There is a person you remember perfectly. The way they laughed, the exact thing they said on the worst night of your life, or the best one. You can replay it like a film. And here's the unsettling part. That film has been edited, not once, dozens of times, by you, without your permission, and without you ever noticing. We like to think of memory as a recording. You live a moment, your brain saves the file, and years later you open it again, exactly as it was. A little dustier, maybe. A little faded, but fundamentally intact. A photograph in a drawer. It is not a photograph. It never was. The truth is far stranger. Every single time you remember something, you are not playing back a recording. You are rebuilding it from fragments. And in the act of rebuilding, you change it. Then you save the changed version over the original. The memory you trust the most, the one you've revisited 1,000 times, is the one that has drifted furthest from what actually happened. Tonight, I want to show you how this works. Because once you understand it, you can never look at your own past the same way again. First, let's understand what a memory actually is. It is not stored in one place, like a book on a shelf. A single memory is scattered across your brain in pieces. The sound here, the smell there, the emotion somewhere else entirely. When you remember, your brain gathers these scattered pieces and assembles them into something that feels whole. It feels seamless. It feels like opening a file. But it's not retrieval, it's construction, every time. And anything you construct, you can build slightly wrong. In the 1990s, a psychologist named Elizabeth Loftus set out to test just how wrong. She had already spent decades studying eyewitnesses, people who swore in court that they saw a man with a mustache, a car that was red, a light that was green. And she kept finding the same thing. Their certainty had almost nothing to do with their accuracy. The most confident witnesses were often the most mistaken. So she asked a darker question. If memory is rebuilt each time, could you build a memory of something that never happened at all? The experiment became famous. It's called Lost in the Mall. Loftus and her team gave volunteers short written accounts of 4 childhood events, supposedly collected from their family. 3 were true. 1 was completely invented. A story about being lost in a shopping mall around the age of 5, frightened, crying, eventually rescued by a kindly older stranger and reunited with the family. None of it had happened. And yet, when asked to recall these events over a series of interviews, about a quarter of the participants remembered the fake one. Not vaguely, not as a maybe. They described it. They added details Loftus had never given them. What the stranger was wearing, how the mall smelled, how scared they felt. When told afterward that one memory was fabricated, some of them couldn't believe it was the mall story. It felt too real. Sit with that. A whole event, emotionally vivid, richly detailed, recalled with confidence, simply planted there by a sentence on a page. If a false memory can feel exactly like a true one, then how would you ever tell them apart inside your own head? You can't. That's the point. But here's where it gets stranger. Because so far you might think the problem is only with shaky old memories, the ones from childhood, the ones already half eroded. The dramatic ones, surely. The burned-in ones, those must be safe. They are the least safe of all. In the early 2000s, a neuroscientist named Karim Nader, working in the lab of Joseph Ledoux, ran an experiment that overturned a century of assumptions. He worked with rats and fear. He taught them to associate a particular sound with a small shock so that the sound alone would freeze them in place. A clean, stable, well-formed memory of fear. Then he did something nobody expected to matter. He played the sound, making the rats remember the fear. And at that exact moment, while the memory was active, he injected a drug that blocks the brain from forming proteins. Proteins are the bricks the brain uses to make memories permanent. The result was astonishing. The fear memory didn't just stay blocked, it was gone. The next day, the sound played, and the rats were calm. The memory that had been rock solid the day before had vanished, simply because it had been recalled at the wrong moment. Think about what that means. Remembering the fear didn't reinforce it. Remembering it cracked it open. For a brief window, the memory became unstable, soft, editable. It had to be saved again to survive, and while it was open, it could be erased, or weakened, or changed. Scientists gave this process a name: reconsolidation. Every time a memory is retrieved, it doesn't stay safe in storage. It comes out of the vault, into your hands where it can be altered, and then it has to be put back. And the version you put back is never quite the version you took out. This isn't a flaw in a few rats. It appears to be how memory fundamentally works, in them and in us. The act of remembering is the act of rewriting. So picture the memory you return to most often. Maybe it's grief, maybe it's the last conversation with someone you lost. You've replayed it 100 times, searching it for meaning. And each time you opened it, you changed it a little. The version you carry now isn't the moment itself. It's a copy of a copy of a copy. A memory of remembering. The original is long gone, overwritten by all the times you tried to hold on to it. The memories you treasure most are the ones you've corrupted most, because you visit them most. Long before anyone understood the biology, a researcher had already seen the shape of this. In the 1930s, a Cambridge psychologist named Frederic Bartlett read people a strange Native American folktale called The War of the Ghosts, full of unfamiliar logic and odd details. Then he asked them to recall it, again and again over weeks and months. The story transformed in their minds. The strange parts quietly disappeared. The unfamiliar became familiar. People reshaped the tale to fit what made sense to them, what fit their own world. They weren't lying. They didn't notice they were doing it. They were simply doing what the human mind always does. Rebuilding the past out of the present. Bending memory to fit who they were now. And that's the deepest part of all of this. The thing being smuggled into your memories isn't random noise. It's you, the person you are today, and it's the memories of the person you used to be. Your current beliefs, your current mood, your current story about yourself. All of it leaks backward into the past and quietly rewrites it. There's research on this too. Studies that tracked the same people across decades found that when adults described their own teenage years, their memories often matched who they had become far better than the diaries they'd actually written at the time. People who grew up happy remembered a happier childhood than their younger selves had recorded. The past was being rewritten to agree with the present. So zoom out. What does this actually mean for you? It means the autobiography in your head, the story of who you are, where you came from, what made you, is not a documentary, it's a living draft. It updates itself constantly, silently, to stay consistent with the person holding the pen today. You are both the author and the character, and the author keeps revising the early chapters. This could feel like a loss, as if nothing is solid, as if you can't trust anything you remember. And in a sense, that's true. But there's another way to see it. If the act of remembering is the act of rewriting, then your past is not a fixed weight you're forced to drag behind you forever. The painful memories you return to are not carved in stone. They are soft. Every time you touch them, they can heal. In fact, this is exactly how some new therapies work, gently reopening a frightening memory and changing what it means before it's saved again, so that the fear loses its grip. Your past is not your jailer, it's clay, and you've been shaping it your whole life without realizing. So tonight, when you lie awake and reach for some memory, the good one or the one that still aches, understand what's really happening. You are not opening a sealed photograph from a drawer. You are picking up wet clay, and the warmth of your hands is changing it. And when you set it down, it will be slightly different, and that new version is the only one that remains. The person you remember being, the moments you swear made you who you are, the face of someone you'll never see again, you don't actually have any of it the way it was. You only have the last time you remembered it.